In a previous lesson, to which I'm going to put a link in the description, we looked at goal-seek, which is under data, what-if analysis, and we saw that I can ask Excel to calculate, for example, here my quantity to be able to get a profit of 10,000. And this is a good approach when you have only one cell that you want to change and one objective. However, whenever you want to change more than one cell and or you have conditions or constraints, the goal-seek methodology will not work. In this case, I'm recommending to use the solver of Excel. Now, solver is a bit scary because it's used for very complicated things, but in these scenarios, and I'm going to show you some examples in this lesson, it is extremely easy to use and very useful. So let's start and let's look at the same example we had in the other lesson, and let's look at a profit of 10,000 by changing the quantity, price, and cost per unit. Now I want to add some constraints, so I want the price to be between 2 and 3, and I want quantity to be an integer. I don't want a quantity with 0.9, for example. So let's go to solver. Now, if you don't see solver under data, you have to go to file, more, options. Under options, you have add-ins. Under add-ins, you can click on go, and here you will have solver add-in. You just have to tick this box and you say okay and you'll get it. Now let's use the solver, and it will tell you set the objective. So my objective is actually my profit, right? Then I have three options. I can do a max, a min, or a value. I'm gonna put a value and I'm gonna put 10,000 here. The same as goal seek, you have to put the cells that you want to change. So here I want to change quantity, price, and fixed cost per unit. So we click, we select quantity and price because they are next to each other, and then comma, and then we select the other. So this is how you can select multiple cells. I'm not going to do constraints right now. I'm just going to do it normal first. And then I want to show you here you have three methodologies to solve this. So you have the GRG nonlinear, simplex LP, and evolutionary. Basically, if you have a linear relationship, you should use simplex LP. For easy cases like this one, GRG nonlinear is good. Evolutionary is also nonlinear, but it's a way more complicated calculation and it takes much more time. So I don't recommend using it right now. I think this one is an easy methodology and it will get the job done. So we're gonna solve it first. And here you can see I get a solution. So I have 7,782, a price of 3.1, and a fixed cost per unit of 1.1. Now this is a solution. However, this solution doesn't adhere to my conditions. You see, I want this to be an integer and I want this to be between 2 and 3. So we're going to cancel the solution and use the solver again. So you see my values are still the same. We have this already filled and we're going to start adding constraints. So the first constraint is that my quantity, here you can select int, and we say it's an integer. This is the first one. We're going to do add. To add the second one, we want the price to be bigger or equal than 2. So you can type 2 or you can refer to another cell. I'm going to type 2. Then I'm going to add another condition. I want my price to be lower or equal to 3. And I'm going to press OK. You can see here the conditions. We can solve for it. We have an answer. We say OK. If you see here, I have an integer. I have a price that is less than 3. And here we have our fixed cost per unit. And you get a profit of 10,000. So this is how you can use the solver to solve for scenarios like this. Now, let's look at another case where the solver can be useful. So here I have a Formula One team. They want to improve the car and they have some projects on the brakes, for example, the speed, tires, etc. This is the budget, this is the contingency, and this is the total. And if you see, the total of all these projects is 55,000. Now, I want to allocate budget, and I have those constraints. Number one, my maximum total budget is 58,000. So I want to give them 58,000. I want to give them more money. So I need to see how to give the additional money. The second thing, I don't want any of the budget to be more than 8,000. So for example, in this case and this case, it's more than 8,000. I have to reduce the suggested budget, and I want a contingency of maximum 500. So here also, wherever I have more than 500, I have to reduce the budget. So let's use the solver and try to solve for this. So here we're gonna reset all, and we're gonna start. My objective is actually this one, and I want it to be 58,000. So I'm gonna type 58. What are the cells that I want to change? I don't want to change the total because the total is a calculated number, but I want to change my budget and my contingencies. So I'm gonna select all of them, and then we're gonna add the constraints. So the first constraint, as we said, is that my budget should be lower or equal than 8,000. Then my second constraint is that my contingencies, they have to be lower or equal than 500. I am done with it. I press on solve, and then I get a solution. Let's press OK, and you can see the total is 58. I have nothing above 500 and nothing above 8,000. So this is an overview of the solver. Please let me know the scenarios that you are facing with solver and what you think about this approach. And as usual, if you like this video, I would love it if you can give it a thumb up and subscribe to the channel if you didn't do so.